NASA sent 2 rovers to Mars 14 years ago, and one of them is still operating. James Reyes is the geology team leader for the Mars Exploration Rover Project. He's also an expert on Mars simulation sites that are being built around the world. And I asked him how important they are for future missions.
Well, these simulation sites are sometimes called planetary analog sites. They're very important because it helps prepare the mission team and the scientists and engineers for their objective, be it the surface of Mars or the moon or wherever they're going to go. So you like to test these things in similar environments on Earth that mimic or try to at best mimic what you're going to see on the planetary body you're going to. And the reason you want to do this is, first of all, you want to be prepared for when you get to the real mission. You don't want to be learning there, so to speak. So you go out there to test. There's a lot of different analogs. There's like geomorphologic analogs, which are like landforms. Like, for instance, are you going to study a volcano or a glacier or a flood? It just depends on what your objectives are for that mission. Then there's like geochemical. For instance, if you're going to go in an area with a lot of volcanic rock, basalt, or say a hematite mineral, you like to go to the geochemical areas. That's another analog. There's another one that's more climatic. It's more like the climate or the environment you're going to experience once you get to the moon or Mars or wherever you're going. So there's a lot of different analogs out there. And there's also, if you're talking about crew members, astronauts one day, you might want them to be in more isolated, remote environments. So there's a lot of different analogs, and they're important because it allows you to go out there and test your science and engineering team, and also your tools like drills and hammers, your techniques, sampling techniques, traverse planning, also your technology. You know, if you're talking about a rover, you want to test the mobility of the rover. What kind of slopes can it climb and not climb? What kind of terrain can it go across? You know, is it real too soft and sandy, or is it too rocky? You want to test that. And you also want to test out your operations, you know, how you're going to actually operate these missions on the moon or Mars, for instance.
Now, how does this colony in China compare to what NASA simulated in Hawaii with its dome structures?
Well, the one in China, I'm not real familiar. I know it's in this red cliff area. It looks a lot like Mars in pictures I've seen. And so, and the terrain is similar to Mars, and it's reddish, so there's probably a lot of iron minerals there, I'm guessing. The one in Hawaii is on the flanks of a volcano, the Mauna Kea volcano. And the people there are mostly studying volcanic, lava flows, volcanic processes, because that's where you are. The other thing, the one in Hawaii, what they're doing also is like human factors. How do groups interact, people interact on long isolation missions? And so there's a lot of different objectives going on there. The more objectives you can kind of go after in a specific site, the better. But there really is no one perfect analog or simulation site in the world. Like I said, there's different types of them, and you try to kind of check as many of those boxes as you can, but it's really difficult.
China Space Agency has a big plan to send a probe to Mars in the year 2020. That is just 3 years from now. Is this first ever colony, does it show that China is on its way?
Well, yes. I mean, the mission is supposed to launch about 3 years from right now, next July or August. July or August in 2020, so about 3 years from now. And will arrive in Mars in early 2021. And this Chinese mission is very ambitious. It's an orbiter, a lander with a rover. And that has never been attempted before, all three of those components in one mission. Usually they've been split apart, and you just want to go into orbit or you just want to land. So it's a very ambitious project they've got ahead to do in about 3 years. The launch is going to take place, as we discussed. And but Mars is a tough place to go. For instance, the Soviet Union, or now Russia, they have never had a successful mission to Mars. They tried about 20 times, and every one of them has failed. So it's a tough place. The United States has been very successful, but we've had some failures too. I guess the country that kind of the first attempt to do it, India, put an orbiter around Mars a couple years ago in the first attempt and pulled that off. That was a big accomplishment.